I live in a small home in a fairly decent neighborhood, and I also work from home as well. I have my office set up upstairs in a small room, with my desk right by a window that faces the front of the house. I liked being able to open it for fresh air, or have the view when it was nice out. This was as fall was just starting, so I pretty much had the window open all day. One regular weekday though, around noon, I was doing my usual work at my desk when I noticed something out the window. There was a person, a man, standing at the bottom of my driveway, not walking past it or stopping to tie a shoe or anything. He was just standing there and looking up at my house. I couldn't tell if he could see me in the window or not, but after only a few seconds of me looking at him, he walked away. I thought it was really strange, but that was about it. What else was I supposed to think or do? I continued with work. I did an occasional check out the window every now and again, but seeing nothing else, I wasn't too worried about it. The following day, I was on the same routine. I got to work and was pretty busy the whole day. I had a lot of video calls with my coworkers. During one of these calls, I spaced out and happened to glance out the window again. That man was there, standing in the same spot at the end of the driveway and looking up at the house just like he was before. Something about this time was 10 times more creepy and eerie. Why the hell was he back here? I must have stared off at him for a while, because one of my coworkers noticed I looked worried and asked if everything was okay. I said yeah, and tried to refocus on the meeting. I kept looking back though. He was standing there for a minute, then I looked back again, and he was gone. The rest of my workday felt to drag on. I couldn't stop thinking about this random guy looking up at my house. It was just so odd. When I got out of work, I went outside and walked around my driveway, looking for any reason for them to be looking up at my house like that. Everything looked normal. However, I did notice that the window of my office was visible and clear from where the man was standing, which means he could likely see me looking at him. I went back inside and made dinner. I had a call with my brother that night, and I mentioned it. He agreed it was odd, but said it was likely nothing. After getting off the phone, I sat down and watched TV, hoping to get my mind off of it. A couple hours passed. It was maybe 9 p.m. I had the show turned down because I was getting tired, but with the low volume, I was able to hear what I thought were footsteps outside my house. I jolted up from the couch and stared at the front door. The footsteps walked up, only stopping for a brief second, then walked away. I hurried over to the door and looked out the peephole. I could only faintly see a figure walking down to the road. Once they were gone, I opened the door. Immediately, I noticed a note taped to the back. It was short. It just said, "Pat, answer the door." I was not only confused, but horrified. How did they know my name, and what was the note even supposed to mean? They didn't even knock or stay long enough for me to have answered the door. Not that I would have anyway. This was enough for me to call the police. 2 officers came over, and I told them everything. Unfortunately, there wasn't all that much they could do though. They pretty much wrote it all down and said if something else happens, call them. It really didn't make me feel much better. I stayed up late that night, laying in bed, unable to sleep. I literally just laid there for hours, thinking about this man that was stalking my house and the eerie note he left. Then, at just before 2 a.m., a knock at the front door echoed through the otherwise silent house. My body froze up. The silence of the house was now deafening as I listened in fear. After a few seconds, they knocked again. My heart started beating faster. I got my phone and called 911. They sent officers right away, but the knocks continued the whole time I waited. Eerily, they never got louder or more rushed or aggressive. It was just the same knocking, over and over, echoing through the hallways of my home. The operator on the phone updated me that the cops were 2 minutes out, and just after that, there was a longer pause between the knocking. 15 seconds, then 30, then a whole minute passed. When the officers showed up, nobody was at the door. They were too late. Again, I told them what happened, and they seemed to take it a little bit more seriously this time, but it still wasn't enough for them to do anything about it. They said they would have an officer patrol around here for the next couple weeks. Those weeks came and went, and the man never came back up to my door, or to the end of the driveway, at least from what I know. It's been months later now, and still, nothing else. It still scares the hell out of me, though. The thought of the creepy note telling me to answer the door, and then there being knocking at 2 a.m. is just terrifying. Then there's also the thought of them coming back, lingering in my head. I don't know what they wanted, who they were, or if they're truly gone for good.